All right, back to our third video. So where we left off was the weather station key. So on the screen right now, we have our weather station symbol key. I do not expect you guys to remember all these symbols, as you will have this at your um, side while you are either interpreting weather station models or drawing your own weather station models. So some quick just at a quick glance, wind speed. Wind speed is going to be shown by the barbs, these lines coming off of the longer line. So a half barb, which you can see right here, is going to represent 5 knots. A full barb is going to be 10 knots. And then if you have two full barbs, it'll be 20. So one full barb is 10, a half barb is 5. Knots are going to be equivalent right now to miles per hour. So on your practice worksheet, it will say miles per hour. Please just assume that one full barb is 10 miles per hour, a half barb is 5 miles per hour. And then looking at weather conditions, for precipitation, you're going to have rain, snow for the most part, and sometimes you may see a drizzle. Rain is represented by 1 dot. The more dots you have, the heavier the precipitation is going to be. And snowfall is represented by the asterisk. The more asterisks you have, the heavier the snowfall is going to be. So let's go ahead and interpret the first one together. So go back to our classroom for Monday, our classwork, excuse me, and go to station model practice. I think we've already identified that the temperature at the top left, the dew points in the bottom left, pressure is in top right, the current weather is in the middle between temperature and dew point, and then you have wind direction, which is the long line coming off the circle. Wind speed would be the barbs off of the long line. Cloud coverage is how much of that circle is colored in. And then sometimes you may see symbols over here. This is showing the barometric trend. So for example, over the last 3 hours, wherever this weather station model is representing, the trend has decreased over the last 3 hours. These mean that trend has stayed about the same. And sometimes you may see plus symbols, which represent an increase, excuse me, an increase in barometric pressure. So the first one, I think we've identified already at temperature is 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Our dew point down here on the bottom left is 23 degrees Fahrenheit. The cloud coverage, the circle is not colored in. Therefore, we can assume that there is no clouds, so 0%. Then looking at this line, wind is always going to be written as where it's coming from. So where it's originating. In this case, if you were to look at a compass, which if you think back to September when we were learning about maps. So a quick review of compasses. The top would be north, south, east, and west. So given the compass directions, this line is showing the wind coming from the north. This, is it a half barb or full barb? Well, use the example as a reference. They've given you 15 miles per hour for wind speed. That means there is one full barb and a half barb. So the full barb again represents 10 miles per hour. The half barb is 5 miles per hour. So down here, we can assume that this line is a half barb. So our wind speed would be 5 miles per hour. The direction would be north. And then finally, we're going to look at barometric pressure. Pressure, we again need to remember our rules at the top of the worksheet. So if you have 003, that is not your final pressure. So you would write down 003 on paper, and then put your decimal point between the second and third digits. So 003, second and third digits, you would get 0.3. Now, if you put a 9 in front of that, it would be 900.3 millibars, which, if we go back to the directions, does not fall into the range given to us. So let's try out 0.3 and put a 10 in front of it. If you put 0.3 and add a 10, so right, can't see, right here, this 1000.3 does fall into the acceptable range of 960 millibars to 1040 millibars. So we would then add in our pressure as being 1000.3 millibars. In this case, there is no current weather happening, so we could assume that the weather is clear. So looking at our final answers,